How's it going, guys? Dragon Star Production here, back with another What If video, and in this edition of Dragon Ball What Ifs, we will be covering the long-awaited What If Shallot Was Canon Part 9. And yes, I know it has been a while, so make sure you're caught up with this series. I'll leave a link down in the description, and also if things end up going right and I have the time, there should be a little link right there in the top right corner of your screen about right now. And with that said, I've talked too much. Let's get into the video intro. Alright, so last time we left off with Shallot, Kakarot, and Vegeta all traveling back to Trunks' timeline to take on the threats of Goku Black and Zamasu. And with some intense training, the job was done and both were defeated, leaving Trunks and Mai to actually stay in their own timeline. However, when the three arrive back, it's not long until Zeno finally decides to have a universal tournament. And with Zeno deciding this, Beerus actually puts Kakarot in charge of compiling a team together. Kakarot, liking Canon, is super excited and immediately starts to think of who and who not to choose for the tournament. But, of course, he obviously would ask Shallot to join first. However, Goku doesn't inform Shallot of all the details of which the tournament entails, like the biggest detail that if they don't win, their universe is on the line. But Shallot knows Kakarot long enough, so he's pretty much able to tell that Kakarot is hiding something. But instead of getting the truth out of him himself, Shallot simply calls over to Launch to deal with him. And I'm gonna say within 5 minutes, well, Kakarot was spilling the tea about the tournament. And when Shallot hears the stakes of the tournament, he realizes that this is no joking matter and they need to start training immediately. Shallot asks Kakarot to train, but Kakarot can only spar in a quick match because he has to finish up finding fighters for the rest of the tournament. And I would say when these two begin to spar, the fight is very, very close, but I would say that it ends in a close draw. Kakarot's Kaioken was right on par with Shallot Master Blue's form. However, like I said before, Kakarot has to find more teammates, so he asks Shallot to recruit Leek, while Kakarot, liking Canon, goes to recruit Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, Master Roshi, while Shallot approaches Leek about the Universal Tournament. Without any questions, though, Leek joins, as well as the other people that Kakarot asks. But that only makes 8 people. This means that Universe 7 is actually down, as of right now, 2 people. This is because Android 17, 18, and Majin Buu in this timeline are all dead. So who's filling in? Obviously, Kakarot first recommends Frieza, which sends everybody into a shock. But to an even bigger surprise, Shallot agrees with Kakarot. Vegeta, though, would be the first to mouth back, saying that both Shallot and Kakarot are idiots. But Shallot then starts to argue. Frieza is one of the strongest people we've ever fought. His experience, his power, and to be honest, his mind can probably help us, at least aid us when it comes to a victory. However, Vegeta doesn't care to hear anything about Frieza. Instead, Vegeta would reply, "You're an imbecile. Frieza doesn't care about anything but winning and killing us." And this is when Shallot put something together. Kakarot never told the real reason of why the tournament was even happening. So Shallot would then tell everybody of what's actually going on. This is a tournament between universes that has a lot on the line. Not just a wish on the Super Dragon Balls or some Zenny, but the loser gets erased. The entire universe. So it sounds like to me we need to get our heads out of our tails and snap into the fact that this is life or death. And having somebody as strong as Frieza on our side only helps our odds of winning. So why not stack the team? Vegeta at this point has no choice but to agree, as well do all the others. So I'm going to say the same process with Goku being the one to revive Frieza actually happens the same in canon, but the last member is left up for discussion while Kakarot is off trying to recruit Frieza. And I'm going to say deciding the last member probably took around an hour, because Krillin would suggest some of Baba's warriors, Tenshinhan suggests that Chatsu, but then says that he isn't ready right afterwards, while Gohan states that neither Trunks or Goten are ready for this series of a fight, as well as they haven't continued their training since the Buu saga. Vegeta then states that if they're reviving people, why not Nappa? But Vegeta laughs this off knowing that it was a joke. However, this did put something into Shallot's head that he wasn't going to take as a joke. And then he says, "What about Giblet?" And surprisingly, nobody is taken aback by this idea, but Shallot continues to explain his reasoning just so they would understand him a little more. "I know right now he wouldn't be the strongest, but he is my twin. And with that, I'd expect him to have similar traits as I do. And maybe, just maybe with some rough enough training, I think we'd actually be able to get his power level up to at least Super Saiyan 3. Vegeta by this time doesn't even care who joins the team as he simply walks off. And when they all decide on Giblet joining, Shallot uses instant transmission to find Kakarot, who happens to be with fortune teller Baba. And when he does, he's able to catch them right before Kakarot actually goes to get Frieza, and Shallot actually then turns and goes to Giblet's hell. Shallot, though, finds himself walking through a dark, cloudy hallway until reaching a door. The door was actually very resemblance to the old Saiyan houses that they had back on planet Vegeta. Shallot would push the door open, and as soon as he does, he finds himself having to jump out of the way of a full power energy blast. Shallot nearly escapes the blast, but as soon as he turns his head, he notices that it's Giblet tucking in his red hood. "What makes you think that you could come here after all these years? As I last remember our encounter, you took my life, and it's only now that I see you. Over and over, you killing me is all I ever get to see. Over and over. But now that you're here, I'm going to end this nightmare." Giblet then dashes towards Shallot, but Shallot wasn't expecting for Giblet to actually power into Super Saiyan. And this was actually enough to catch Shallot off guard, leading Giblet to actually get nailed right across the jaw. Shallot feels his jaw shake, but he grips the ground with his hand as he replies to his brother. "You act like this wasn't my choice. You act like I wanted to hurt you. You're my family. But you had all intentions of killing me. And if we learned anything, and I mean anything growing up, Giblet, you knew it was that you don't leave alive somebody who wants your head. Family or not, the way that you look at it, the way I look at it, I had no choice. You made me." Shallot then charges up to Super Saiyan as him and Giblet begin to trade blows. Shallot, though, does have the upper hand as his Super Saiyan is more refined, and they both notice this. Giblet, though, gets angry at the fact that he cannot pass his brother. He's pissed that no matter how hard he tries, he repeats the same fight over and over and can't win. Giblet's anger, though, starts to get more and more evident. He starts to gain more strength, and Shallot starts to see that Giblet is getting harder to dodge. Actually, Shallot believes that Giblet is probably about to surpass his limits and power up into Super Saiyan 2 if his rage actually gets high enough. So Shallot knew that if he wanted any chance of getting Giblet to actually help in the Universal Tournament, then he had to have a way to help his brother win when it came to this fight. Shallot then begins to talk to his brother, kicking him in the stomach. "You know what, Giblet? I thought you died. I thought you were just another Saiyan that wasn't good enough to survive Frieza. I thought Frieza was the reason for your death. But it wasn't Frieza. It was me, Giblet. It was me. I killed you." Giblet, like most Saiyans, did have hatred for Frieza, and Giblet was no different. Especially after working with the Vegeta squad for so long, Giblet had a lot of grunt when it came towards Frieza. But not only the fact that he had grunt towards Frieza and that he couldn't get his revenge on Frieza because he was dead, but the fact that he also couldn't get revenge on Shallot either. This lit Giblet into a rage, a blind rage, and with instant, his power skyrocketed as lightning begins to strike the ground all around them, and Giblet unleashed a new power in himself, powering up into Super Saiyan 2. Giblet then releases a smackdown onto Shallot. Giblet grabs Shallot by the face as he blasts him head on. Shallot, of course, is extremely hurt by this attack, but he has no choice. He has to take it. He had to take the beating for the team. Giblet rushing, kicks Shallot right across the mouth. Shallot feels his mouth cave in, but Shallot grabs Giblet's foot, but before he could do anything, Giblet swipes his hands off as he begins to fly up and start repeatedly blasting Shallot over and over with some ki blasts. Shallot cannot move by this point, or at least that's what Giblet thought. When the smoke cleared, Shallot stood as a Super Saiyan god. "I think it's time I actually tell you why I'm here, Giblet. The head of the universe is the Omni King. has made a universal tournament, and our universe has to fight for survival. We need one more person on our team, and I could teach you this power and even further beyond. And maybe, just maybe, I can find a way to get you revived. And then you can finally have a death match that you've wanted with me for so long now. And Giblet would then flip up his hood as he looks at Shallot, as he then turns around and says, I'm not saying yes because I want to help you. I'm saying yes so I can kill you after. And with that said, all the members have been decided for Universe 7. Kakarot, Shallot, Gohan, Leek, Vegeta, Piccolo, Krillin, Master Roshi, Tenshinhan, Frieza, and Giblet. But oh wait, that's 11. Oh, that's actually because Tenshinhan didn't have any intentions of being in the tournament anyway before it actually happened. It was just the fact that he was there and the fact that now they have enough members. Both Shallot and Kakarot both knew that Tenshinhan wouldn't have done his best in the tournament anyway, especially if he was doubting himself and already had the want to stay on Earth with his dojo. Tenshinhan, though, wouldn't mind stepping down. In fact, he's even willing to help Shallot and Giblet when it comes to the hyperbolic time chamber training. So, instead of getting into that, I think it's time for the tournament itself, and we'll have to see what Shallot and Tenshinhan actually taught Giblet for this tournament. So, as Shallot, Tenshinhan, and Giblet all walk out of the time chamber, everybody is mind blown about the growth and power that Giblet has had. Kakarot, in fact, really wants to spar, but he's cut off by Beerus and Whis, telling him that they have to leave for the tournament immediately. Most of the fighters from Universe 7 were very excited and intrigued at the battles that they were about to venture into, and rightfully so, because upon arrival, Universe 7 is met with stares from every other universe. Gohan, seeing this, would of course bring up the idea of sticking together in the middle of the tournament once more, but Shallot was distracted. Shallot, though, isn't distracted by any of the fighters that are watching him. No, he's distracted by a particular fighter from Universe 11 by the name of Jiren. And as soon as Kakarot notices Jiren as well, he tries to approach him just for Toppo to interfere. However, with Toppo interfering, all this does would intrigue Shallot and Kakarot even more to fight Jiren. And with that said, the Grand Priest would actually announce that the tournament was going to begin in 3, 2, 1. And as soon as the Grand Priest starts the tournament, Fist begins to fly. Kakarot eliminates Link from Universe 9, like in Canon as Vegeta, and his base easily nails out Hop from Universe 9. But Shallot, he gets his hands dirty with a face that we rarely got to see in the Tournament of Power, that being Oregano, who tries to blast Shallot straight in the back. And Oregano is just a big guy who has a bunch of rocks all over him. But that's not important because Shallot in base found punching him was actually going to hurt himself more than it was going to hurt Oregano. So he had no choice but to actually power up. But instead of just going Super Saiyan, Shallot decides to be a little overkill and go into Super Saiyan 2 as he then would gut punch Oregano, bringing him straight to his knees. Oregano couldn't move. Shallot, though, instead of trying to pick his opponent up, talk to him, or do anything like that, Shallot just simply kicked him straight off the stage, giving him his first elimination. And because I've covered Shallot, it's only fair now that I cover his son Leek. And Leek, like his father, was fighting somebody with a very unfamiliar face when it came to the Tournament of Power, this being Roselle from Universe 9, who is mostly remembered for jumping off the stage against Frieza. And to be honest, he might as well have done the same thing here because with little ease, Leek was wiping the floor with him. Roselle would actually attempt to escape, but this wasn't going to happen. No, Leek would grab Roselle by the wings and literally start to spin him around and around until finally tossing him out. Shallot, Leek, Kakarot, and Vegeta would all finish their fights around the same time. And when they do, they notice 3 fighters standing around one particular fighter, this being Giblet. But the fighters standing around him were none other than the trio of Danger, Bergamo, Basil, and Lavender. However, Giblet didn't seem to be scared. In fact, Giblet didn't even seem to be the slightest bit intimidated. Giblet instead would wait right in the middle, awaiting for one of the wolves to make their move, which kicked the trio of Danger right in the ass, because Shallot comes crashing in with one single kick coming to the jaw. He knocks Lavender right off the stage before he could even use his poison or even be effective in this tournament. This then leaves both Basil and Bergamo in shock. but it does make it a fair fight for Shallot and Giblet. And with that being said, I do believe that Leek, Vegeta, and Kakarot decide to go all in different directions, leaving Shallot and Giblet to do their thing. Giblet and Shallot both charge up into Super Saiyan, ready to dash in, and they too would then go their separate ways as Shallot heads towards Bergamo while Basil gets uppercutted by Giblet. Shallot then grabs Bergamo by the ears as he then pulls his head, driving his skull straight into his knee. Bergamo then goes flying backwards just for Giblet to rush behind him, grabbing him and flipping him onto his neck, kind of like German suplex style. Bergamo lands so hard on the ring that the ring actually breaks and Bergamo is eliminated, leaving Basil as the only survivor of the trio of danger, and at this point, he's the last survivor for Universe 9. But that doesn't last very long because as soon as Basil catches his breath and he picks himself off the ground, Shallot comes flying in with a foot square to the face. Basil, like the rest of the universe, had been eliminated by some measly kicks. This means that Universe 9 is the first universe to be eliminated, and Frost from Universe 6 would actually try to sneak up on a fast one by swiping Krillin off the stage, but luckily Leek at this point was able to see Frost from the corner of his eye, and Leek powered up into Super Saiyan and intercepted Frost's attack. Leek knew that he couldn't let Frost get away from this, and he couldn't let him get out of his sight. He'd escape and hide. He knows Frost. He knows that he's got to be like Frieza, and he's got to be sneaky. So Leek then decides to punch Frost repeatedly until blasting him with multiple ki blasts over and over. Frost, though, manages to weave most of the ki blasts, but whenever he stops, he realizes that Leek has his arms drawn back and over his head. This then has a blue ball of ki that begins to build in his hands. Frost attempts to move, but Krillin tosses some destructor discs, forcing Frost to stay still and dodge those, leaving him wide open for Leek's new energy wave, the Grand Buster. The attack goes flying over Leek's head, straight beam that spirals until it crashes directly into Frost. Frost couldn't hold on, the blast was too powerful for him, and within seconds Frost found himself sitting next to Champa and Vados in the Universe 6 benches. And clearly, if you haven't noticed, I'm not focusing on the other fighters such as Kakarot, Vegeta, and Gohan, unless they're wrapped up in some elimination that involves Shallot, Giblet, or Leek, because, well, time purposes. So, you can assume that if they eliminate him in canon, well, they eliminated him here, unless I say otherwise. And with that being said, I'll jump into the next fight with Giblet. Giblet would then go off on his own as he actually sees a smaller Saiyan scoping out a small bug. This happens to be Cabba trying to eliminate Damon, but Giblet notices this, and with a single finger beam, he blasts Damon straight off the stage, causing Cabba to turn around really fast. Cabba then notices that this guy looks a lot like Shallot, but he can't be Shallot. He doesn't feel like it. And Cabba even announces to him that he looks just like Shallot, and he's wondering if he's as strong as him. Giblet, though, just shakes his head and says that he'd rather not be compared to his brother. In fact, he'd rather not be compared to anyone, especially by you. Giblet then would dart in, but to his surprise, Cabba is able to block Giblet's hand. Cabba throws his hands to the side, throwing a punch of his own, but Giblet just edges out of the way, attempting to spin his leg, as Cabba, though, barely weaves his jaw out of the way. But Giblet's leg does make contact with Cabba, and with this said, this is the slight opening that Giblet does need. Giblet would then go low with a palm blast that knocks Cabba back towards the arena's edge. Giblet, though, taunts Cabba to run at him. Cabba, though, doesn't. Instead, he screams as his aura lights into Super Saiyan. Giblet, though, sees this and proceeds to do the same. Cabba darts in at Giblet, who holds Cabba in one place. The two then are sitting standstill until slowly Giblet's aura calms and turns red, as well as his hair. Giblet had reached godhood. Giblet was a Super Saiyan god, and with that said, I'm going to say Giblet then will drive his elbow straight into the jaw of Cabba, and for good measures, Cabba was then blasted to be knocked straight off the stage, just for good measures. And with that said, next up would be Shallot. And Shallot actually finds himself getting caught into one of the biggest fights of the entire tournament. Shallot would find himself almost dead center in the arena when Kakarot would fly next to him. Kakarot starts talking about Jiren and how strong he looks. Kakarot attempts to convince Shallot to fight alongside him, and Shallot is very tempted. But somehow, someway, Shallot can tell that this Jiren guy isn't full power, and that he's holding back, not just holding back, but holding back a lot. Kakarot, though, being Goku, he doesn't really care, and he wants to fight him immediately. He's more interested in a good fight, so doesn't listen to Shallot's advice and goes straight in at Jiren anyway. Jiren, not even paying Kakarot any attention, just weaves attack after attack. Kakarot goes to Super Saiyan 2 to God to Blue, but still, Jiren is easily dodging everything that Kakarot throws. Kakarot gets desperate and powers up even further, but Jiren simply grabs Kakarot's hand and flings him off of him. Jiren then flows up and throws a brutal gut punch, causing him to crash from blue to base. In fact, Jiren would have even eliminated Kakarot if Shallot didn't step in and catch him. Shallot looks down and Kakarot is beaten, realizing that he doesn't have a choice now. Shallot closes his eyes as he powers up into his master Super Saiyan Blue form. I really don't know if this is enough, but I'm not going down without a fight! Shallot then dives directly towards Jiren, except instead of punching him, he decides to use the tactic of a close-up ki blast. However, this does nothing but irritate Jiren, who then would reach through the ki blast, slamming Shallot to the ground. Jiren then would repeat punches after punch after punch after punch until Shallot got to the point where he could barely move. Jiren then would rise up in the air as he lifts one hand and releases an energy wave that would completely swallow Shallot, who is left helpless on the ground. The smoke will clear, and all that's left was a big crater. Everybody assumed that Shallot was eliminated, but he wasn't in the benches. Everybody's first guess was that Jiren actually killed Shallot. In fact, this actually would cause Kakarot to rage out, as well as Shallot's son, Leek. Kakarot charged up into Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, and Leek was in his ultimate as the two side-by-side launched towards Jiren. Jiren, though still dodging, he would actually end up finding himself getting blasted by the back by Vegeta with a final flash. However, Jiren only feels the blast and basically shrugs it off of his shoulders. But as soon as he turns around and sees the blast is not shooting anymore, it is actually a huge blinding aura that shoots from the ground. In fact, everybody is amazed by this, but Leek knows exactly who it is. And with that being said, Shallot would then rise from the ground with a very calm aura. His eyes were glazed over, silver, gray. Shallot had achieved Ultra Instinct. And with that being said, Shallot would then dash super quickly past everybody, gut punching Jiren. And Jiren wasn't able to actually dodge this. Jiren for once feels the pain in the tournament. Shallot would then stay on the attack, from punching him to blasting him. Everybody was amazed. Vegeta, Kakarot, Leek, and Gohan all couldn't believe themselves, but Shallot wasn't paying attention to them. No. Instead, Shallot had his arms pulled back as a super ball began to build inside of his hands. Shallot then begins to run towards Jiren, as Jiren, though, unlike before, isn't fast enough to escape and dodge. So Shallot literally finds himself right above Jiren, about to release a full power final spirit cannon. But that is where we're going to be leaving off for part 10 of What If Shallot Was Canon. And I really hope you guys enjoy this. As you guys know, this is probably my favorite What If that I have done on the channel. So I want you guys to be sure to smash that like button. I've already wrote part 10. I just got to record it as well. So if this gets a lot of likes, I will do my best to record part 10 as fast as I can. In fact, I will record it right after this video if this can honestly blow up. With that said, I'll be catching you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon for any alerts whenever I upload. With that said, take us out the video, Hercule.
Congratulations, champ. You made it to the end of the video. Now, if you hit that subscription button, that thumbs up button, and that bell icon, you won't catch a dynamite kick.